Also, okay. Fluent and Fearless in 11 weeks, workshop number 7, Control and Autonomy, which means we're going to talk about motivation. And we start with a quote by one of my heroes, Dr. Richard Dick Schwartz, the guy who founded Internal Family System. Those of you who have been to my in June to the original workshop on self-esteem, you might remember him. Um, we will be talking a lot about IFS, internal family systems, and the quote is, "What if we all had this collection of internal players that are struggling for control of our souls?" And I think that's a fitting quote when we talk about motivation. I think very often we kind of like, I want to do this, but do I really want to do it? And why don't I want to do what I think I want to do it? And so we're going to talk a little bit today and trying to clarify a little bit what is motivation, what does it consist of. But before we go to motivation and autonomy, we will be talking a little bit about control. But in order to like talk about activities that we enjoy, that we don't enjoy as much, we first need a basis to what actually can we do in order to like improve our German, to study German, where can we speak German? And we're going to start with a Wortwolke. And let me share my screen. Up, up. Okay, so let me hang on. Up. What is it? What is it here? Um, and we start. Do you guys see that? Yeah. Also, let's make a Wortwolke. Everyone knows what a Wortwolke is? A word cloud? No? Okay, I'll show you in a second. Okay. I'll send you, you can either, I'll send you the link if you want, or you can just like do the QR code. And it's basically and just think as broadly as you want, as concrete as you want. What can one do to improve one's German? And here's the QR code, and we will actually, wait a second. Um, yes, scan the QR code. I will also put the link in the chat. Kopieren. Oh God, this is really complicated. Chat, chat, chat. Where's the chat? Um, can't find the chat. Here. Okay, also put the link here in the chat. And then you can start writing stuff in the word cloud. Yeah. Um, you got the chat. And I will also put this here. Let's see if that works. Uh, and okay. Fall in loop. Okay, okay, I guess. Um,
Lab.
okay. Okay, you can just keep posting stuff. Be a little more concrete. Oh, okay. I guess that didn't work. As much as you can. Everyone, three things. Oh, fall in love. Okay, now. Okay. Okay. Do we have more? That was my phone. I'll be right back. This is my telephone. Okay. Yep. Oop. Okay, let me also. Okay. Um, okay, what's other? Um, okay, and one more. Okay. Okay. Everyone submitted? Yeah? Hey Marcus, anyone needs more time? Okay, then let's take a photo of this. We'll need this later. Just take a photo of this. I can also make a screenshot actually, and send it to you guys if it lets me do it. Um, hang on. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Mm, okay, I'll be right back. Let me so okay, cool. Okay, let's get back to the okay. Um, what is it? Okay, let's put this in the chat. Okay, I sending it to everyone as a photo. Okay, we'll need this later. Okay, we'll need this later. Okay, good. Then let's put this aside for a second, and we'll get back to this question later. It's just this inspiration we need for like when we talk about motivation later. Okay, then let's get to control. What does control mean in the context of learning German? And I don't know if we recall from the very first, actually, let me stop sharing. Um, I don't know if you remember our very first workshop when we were talking about this theory that I have that most people, adult learners living in Germany, that many people have a lot of control over the amount of German that they get in contact with, but they do not have an orientation. And I think that control is a really big issue for German learners living in Germany. Um, because as you all have experienced, you can avoid speaking German quite easily living in Berlin. This is on the one hand a good thing, on the other hand, it causes a lot of problems. And let's see a little bit what I mean by when we talk about control. And what I mean, or in general, when we were talking about basic psychological needs, control is in this context means influencing your environment that you have, and that is what it means from whenever we are born. It is control is about influencing what happens around us. And I think German should never just happen to us. Very often when people live in Germany, it's when you live there, like it sometimes happens to you, but it should not just, oh, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Like you should control the dose of what happens and how much happens to you. And I think the two most important tools to exert this control is number one, actually making decisions. That's what we're talking about, this whole like coming out. It is you who's in the driver's seat of making the decision of like, I'm doing this now. I'm going out there. I'm not no longer hiding. I'm no longer like constructing. I'm actually going out there and I want this contact with the language. That's number one, the control that you get, that you are controlling this. And the other one, that you reduce what is the control that the situation has over you. That is, you have to set boundaries. Yeah. So the one thing is making decisions, offensive, and defensive is setting boundaries. And we have heard in the past that some people are struggling with both. And especially setting boundaries. This is something we talked about um, a lot when we were talking about the vicious circles. That people like, oh, this person corrected me the whole time, or this person scolded me, or this person did that. And very often, like we don't set boundaries. And the problem then when we don't set those boundaries, then like un things happen to us that can be very traumatic in a certain way, and that can be like really take the fun and enjoyment out of it. So setting boundaries and making decisions is like really important, and that includes, for example, who corrects you and when and how. We spoke about this also in the past, like when you have your coming out, you make a decision, maybe with your partner. That's something we talked about in the belonging workshop. Yeah. That you should also decide, okay, when I activate those resources, when I turning German friends I have into people I talk German with, yeah, how do they correct me? Do I want them to correct me? What about a partner, a romantic partner? Yeah, these kind of questions. So you decide who corrects you, when, and how. Also, something that I, as a German teacher, see over and over and over again is that adult learners don't take initiative in class. And I don't mean to like participate in class, I mean to intervene when things happen that they don't want. Yeah. Um, you are an adult person. Very often you pay for your classes. And it always pains me when people don't don't go to the teacher and say, okay, I need this and this and this from this class, and I'm not getting it. Yeah. That I find always. So when you are in a German class and you're paying for this, you have a right to decide what happens in this class. Yeah, you can at least start a conversation with your teacher about what's going on. And way too often, people just leave. People don't say anything. They talk back. They complain in all kinds of ways. And I always tell people, talk to your teacher. It's your class. You have a lot of power. Yeah. So really, this is also, you have a lot of control, or should be able to control to a certain extent, what happens in your German classes as well. And also, what you have control over, also, we talked about this, is what kind of positive emotions you pursue in the future, in the learning process. Yeah, it's a choice that you make. Again, it's a decision that you make. This is what I want to pursue. This is where I'm going. Yeah, and that's what I'll do. So make a plan, follow the plan, do offense, make decisions, and on the other hand, set boundaries to protect yourself. That is what I mean with control in the language learning process. We'll do um, a quick, a quick group discussion about this topic. Hang on a second. Let's having some technical problems here today. This one here. Okay. Questions for you. And I'll send you the PDF with this in a second. Um, how would you describe your level of control over your process of learning and speaking German? So how much control do you think do you have in this process? Yeah, do you perceive it to be rather low, or do you perceive it to be pretty high? Yeah, what is your control experience in this context? Question number two. over what would you like to have more control in this context? Yeah, and maybe what could you do to achieve this? Like which aspect of learning and speaking German would you like to have more control over, but currently feel like you don't have that? And number three, to what extent has your sense of control changed since the beginning of our course? If at all, obviously. Has it changed? Do you feel like you are more in control now? What has changed in the last, it's been 6 weeks now. Those are the three questions. As always, I give you yeah, 7 minutes. And let me, hang on, let me share this PDF with you. Up, where is it? Here it is. Up. Um, Here it is. No. Okay, there it is. There you have the slide about control and also the questions. Um, okay, and I'll okay. Okay, then let's go on with this. And now this was the first part, the control part, which is not really the focus of today. What I want to focus on today is the idea of autonomy. Um, I don't know if everyone has an idea what autonomy means. For us today, the idea of autonomy means that you yourself decide what you do. It's about self-determination, about like this making decisions or like doing things because you want them to do. Yeah, that is be autonomous. And we're going to look into this today and what this means. We're going to look into something that's called self-determination theory, which is a huge field in psychology. I'll get into like the founders and stuff in a second. This has changed significantly how I think about motivation and what I think motivation consists of. And I hope that you will find it also pretty meaningful and it opens up a little bit your idea of like what motivation is. And also what I mostly hope is that it helps you to focus on the things that are important for you and maybe things you should not be doing. Yeah. Because it's not only what motivates you is important, it's also what demotivates you. Yeah. And what really maybe like leaves a dent in your motivation and in your overall enjoyment of the language learning process. Those are the two things we'll do today. So the important factor for staying motivated when learning a language or with anything basically is to experience more autonomy. Yeah. When we wanna do something, we wanna feel like we are the origin of this activity. Um, so there's a difference between motivation and regulation. That's the first thing we have to understand. There's motivation, which is why we do something. Yeah. There's a reason and the drive behind we do something. That's called motivation. The second term, regulation, means how this behavior is controlled. Okay, so I want to do something, yeah, and then well, I want to do something, and the question is, who in me? That's we had this before, like of all the players, like struggling for the control of our soul, who is regulating this behavior? Yeah, so we have motivation, and motivation can consist of different regulations. Okay, sometimes this is also called volition. If you ever heard this term, yeah, that's what's called the regulation. And we're going to talk a little bit about these two because everyone knows the terms intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. And we're going to look at those terms and differentiate this a little bit to better understand what is happening. Yeah, we'll get there in a second. And it's important to know there's like certain levels how autonomous, how self-determined we experience our behavior. And generally, the more self-determined we experience it, the more the more fulfilling we experience this activity, the more sustainable it is, the longer we will last, and the more enjoyment we'll find in doing this activity. More autonomy, longer and more fulfilling activity. And we'll do something, and I'll show you what the idea is today. And let me share my screen for this. So basically, we have this, some of us, when we like want to learn or do something, you all know this. We have sometimes an inner mutiny. Yeah, we think we want to do something, but somehow we do not. And then I'll get later into this, like we sit down, okay, I'm doing this now, and then we don't do it. And we get really frustrated with ourselves. And then we get into this possible circle of like, I'm getting angry at myself for not wanting something. Yeah. And then I'm criticizing myself. And then all of a sudden I have like three different aspects of me fighting with each other. Yeah. One calls the other lazy. The, the other one is angry. So this is what I call the inner mutiny. And I think some of you have experienced this while learning German in different aspects of learning and speaking German. And the idea that we have today is basically how do we want to get rid of regulations that endanger our motivation? Okay. Sounds a little funny, but the motivation is like the everything we have, and there's certain parts of that motivation, yeah, certain regulations within our global motivation that actually make us struggle, yeah, and we want to get rid of those regulations. And so what we're doing today now is number one, we understand the motivation continuum. How does it work? What does it consist of? Number two, we identify the factors that influence us, or you in this case. We place them on a continuum and we elevate. We have two options with the ones that undermine us, the ones that bother us. Some regulations, they actually harm us, but we keep doing them. Yeah. And we have two possibilities then in this case. Either we elevate those regulations, we'll get into this, what this means in a second, or we get rid of those activities. Yeah. That's basically the plan. So we have a look at everything that drives us and decide which one of those regulations, of those factors, should we get rid of because they endanger the whole project of learning and speaking German. Yeah. Okay. Very quickly about motivation. And maybe this is how for me, motivation before I start looking into this was basically, it's just one thing. Like it's like one big thing, it's one and it's like a black box. It's either you are motivated or you're not. Yeah, it's either that or that. But that is very unsatisfying when you think about this because it means for me as a teacher, I can't really help you. If we decide, yeah, it's just there's nothing I can do about it. I'm just motivated or not. Yeah. I find this really unfulfilling, and that's why we're working about this here today. So I think it really helpful to look at motivation is a sum of different motivations. It's not just one. There's all these different activities, yeah, and we should pick which ones are good and which ones are not good. And those different motivations, they are regulated in different ways. And these individual motivational aspects can be seen on a continuum with 6 stages of regulation. And we're going to dive into those 6 stages today. The one, the one stage is amotivation. That is the complete absence of motivation. Yeah. I hope that you don't have this very often. It's basically when we're not doing anything, when we feel like this is senseless to do this. This is a complete waste of time. Yeah. I think you have experiences in the past. Yeah, where it's just like, what the fuck am I doing here? This doesn't make any sense. Yeah. If you're familiar with the story of Sisyphus, the guy who rolled up the stone on the mountain, yeah. That guy was probably feeling some motivation, even though Albert Camus had a very different idea about how he felt about doing this. But that would be a motivation, the complete absence of motivation. We're going to get into this, but we're going to get into the other 5 stages, or the 5 different things on this motivation continuum. And we start with the most autonomous form, which you've all heard of, which is called intrinsic motivation. Um, and ideally, have some patience. We're going to get into all different aspects of this today. And I find this really helpful. I hope it helps you also. Let's start with intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is really easy to understand. We have all experienced it. It's basically the fundamental expression of human curiosity. Yeah, we have all been there. As kids, we explore things even later. It's something, as humans, we seek new challenges to expand our experience and understanding of the world. Yeah, humans like to learn. That's just a fact. Yeah, and we never stop doing this. Um, um, and we act out of interest and inspiration. Humans, we seek stimulation and we push our limits. Yeah. Everyone who has ever spent time with a human being knows that that's mostly what they do. Yeah. We're just on the move, finding new stimulation. Um, and very often we act out of enjoyment. Yeah. And this is what intrinsic motivation means. We act out of enjoyment independent of external rewards or pressure. We just do it because we like it. The activity is itself the reward and not the consequences. Yeah. So we're doing something because we just enjoy the process of doing it. Yeah. And we do not care about the consequences of these actions. That is what we call intrinsic motivation. It doesn't mean it comes from within. That's people always believe that there's just intrinsic and extrinsic. Yeah. That's not what this means. You will see extrinsic is much more complicated than this. This is the easy part. Yeah. I think you all know what this means. Um, and I'm just introducing very slowly a couple of important terms. And this is the IPLOC, yeah, the internal perceived locus of causality. Yeah, that means if you have an internal perceived locus of causality, it means I feel like the origin of this behavior. Yeah, so we got an I. Remember this word IPLOC. Yeah, that means I feel like I'm doing this because I want to do it. Yeah. Um, okay, that is basically the idea of intrinsic motivation. And now we'll do the following. We get into small groups again, into a group of two, and we do the following. You all have the photo, what I sent in the link, or like the photo of the cloud. And I want you to do the following. When you think about learning and speaking German, okay, which activities do you do simply because you enjoy them as such? Yeah. Don't think about the consequences. Yeah. Don't think about, okay, which ones do you do that because you just love doing it? Yeah. You can look at the word cloud from the beginning of these sessions for inspiration and write the ones down that you think I'm just doing this because I love doing it. I don't care if I learn German doing this. I don't know. It's just I really love doing that. Write this down. Take a minute and just go through it. Write down the ones that you really, really enjoy and discuss this with your partner. Take a minute and I'll send you the PDF of what we just did. I'll send you this in the chat. And then we'll have, where's the chat? Where's the chat? Okay, let me take it. Okay, then let's go on with the next, and I share my screen for you guys. Then because I wanna, okay. And now we come to something that has a really fancy name, which is called organismic integration theory. Yeah. This is by those two fine gentlemen here on the right, Richard Ryan and Edward Deci, two American psychologists who came up with this self-determination theory over the last 50 years. They started doing research on this in the 1970s, and in 2017, they published a massive book. It's like 800 pages, which is called Self-Determination theory, which is like the culmination of their work. Um, I would love to recommend this book, but I can't. It is really interesting, but it's probably the most boring psychology book I've ever read. Even though the content is really fascinating, they came up with the most boring way of writing about this. It's astonishing. Yeah, I don't know how they did it. The book's really interesting, but I cannot really recommend it to anyone. Um, However, you can like look into this. I find this organismic integration theory really, really fascinating. And we get into the whole idea of what extrinsic motivation means, because that is way more complicated than what intrinsic motivation is. Let's see if you find it as interesting as I do. Um, so I think we all have this idea of like extrinsic motivation to be something coming from the outside. And that is what it is. It comes from the outside. However, um, as it says in organismic integration theory, we have certain, as human beings, we grow up or we live with other people and we grow up in a culture. And there's certain things that we kind of have to do. And we can integrate them. So we have an external, an extrinsic motivation, a regulation, an external regulation, and we integrate this regulation into our beings. It is not intrinsic because we don't do it for the heck of it. It comes from the outside, but we do it anyways, and it doesn't feel like it is coming from the outside. That is called integration. So we internalize extrinsic motivations, we internalize them, and we no longer realize that they're coming from the outside. So we first step is we internalize pressures coming from the outside, and then this is called the process of internalization, reflects the processes through which extrinsic behaviors become an aspect of our minds and motives. I'll give you an example in a second. And integration is the further step of making that fully congruent with who you are. It comes from the outside, it gets internalized, and in the next step, it gets integrated into who I am. I give you an example. When you were a kid, you might not remember this, but maybe you didn't like to get dressed. Yeah? You just loved being naked and running around naked on the beach. Yeah? Um, Today, none of you would think, oh, it's a good idea to go out naked. Yeah. You would all decided to get dressed before you leave the house. You don't think about it. Yeah. It's clearly if you were by yourself and if you were a free human being, you would not get dressed. However, you do get dressed and you feel it as something integral part of who you are is getting dressed. That is something of like how it gets internalized and how it gets integrated. Yeah, it was not originally your idea, and you don't enjoy the process of getting dressed. You just do it. Yeah, because again the consequences. Uh, um, and this internalization, this process of getting it from the outside to the inside, is facilitated by basic need satisfaction. When our basic needs are satisfied, we will then internalize and integrate extrinsic motivations. Yeah, let's give a little time. We'll get into this a little bit more. And there are basically four different types of extrinsic regulation that vary in terms of their relative autonomy. And we start, Christine is saying, um, yeah, yeah. That's basically what this is about. Yeah, when it reflects your values, then you integrate it. Yeah. Um, Okay. So the first thing we call is integrated regulation. Yeah. Let's have a look at this. This is it's not so complicated. I think the example of getting dressed is really it makes this really easy. Yeah. The behavior is not just valuable, but fully integrated into our identity. It's part of who we are. Getting dressed is just who we are. We do this every day. We don't think about it. It's something that we just do. Yeah. The action feels authentic and self-driven with a strong eye block, even if they are not inherently enjoyable. I don't know about you. I don't really particularly enjoy getting dressed. Yeah. I don't think it's something that's a lot of fun and I want to like to expand this for hours and hours. I just do it. Yeah. However, when I do it, I have a feeling that it's my decision to do it. Yeah, I don't feel somebody is forcing this upon me. Yeah, because I don't live at home anymore and my mother is telling me don't wear the red sweater. Yeah. So this is really, it's not enjoyable per se, but I still do it and I'm not questioning that anyone other than me is the origin of this activity. Um, um, okay, the integration of less autonomous regulation is an active and transformational process and requires self-reflection. Before I was talking about elevating certain motivations, yeah, and this is what we do here in order to integrate something. For example, yeah, well, we'll get there in a second. Yeah, we can do a self-compatibility check by like there's certain things we kind of like doing but not really, and the more we think about it we could get to something, okay, this is actually who I am, I should be doing this. Yeah, so by thinking about activities we can make them more compatible with who we are. And um, And basically, integrated regulation entails that we bring a regulation into congruence with the other aspects of ourselves and our basic psychological needs. So that means we like have to, we talk in a second about identified regulation and what that means. Let's stay here with just some couple of questions. What could this be when we talk about learning German? This is all interesting and fascinating. The question is like, what does it mean for us? Okay, and the question here then is, again, I'll give you a couple of minutes to talk about this. Um, when you think about learning and speaking German, which activities come almost natural to you and take no effort, even though you don't enjoy them as such? Okay, you feel like the difference between the intrinsic motivation, it was, I'm loving the activity, I'm doing it because I enjoy the activity. Now it's more, which activities do I do? It's not that I really enjoy them, yeah, but it reflects who I am. Yeah, I just do it, just like getting dressed when we talk about learning and speaking German. Okay, again, also come almost natural to you and take no effort. Again, we look at the word cloud from the beginning and write these down also. They are also important for us for later. Okay, which activities come almost natural to you and take no effort? That's it. Okay, let me give you two things in the chat. Um, number one, where's the chat? Here. Um, Christine, did I answer your question or should I?
Yes, yes, you did. Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
I
no, no,
just
it's
it
great.
just
I love
pinged
it.
in my head. Yeah.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
But yeah, yeah, you did answer it. Thank
Always
you.
do that. Always do that.
Yes.
Okay, I give you the one about integrated regulation. App. And yeah, take the word cloud. And I'll give you another list that I created. Maybe this helps you also. It's I created a list, 37 Aktivitäten to improve your German. I also put it in there. If you are looking for more inspiration what to do, you can check out this list that I created. Yeah. Okay. Again, I'll give you a couple of minutes to go through this. We did intrinsic motivation, and now we are at integrated regulation. Okay, those are the good. Those are the good guys. That's what we like. That's what we want. Okay. Later we get to the ones we don't like, but for the moment, stay with the ones that you like and that you enjoy doing. Okay. I see you in a couple of minutes. Any questions about this exercise? Any comments? In the end, the difference between the intrinsic and the integrated is not so important. They are both great. The activity that you wrote down in the last two exercises, those are the ones that you basically are covered. We don't have to worry about them. They're just there. They are great. That's the one we want to do. And starting now, and we'll take a break now, and what we look at after the break is the activities that we have to think more about. Yeah. Those are the ones we have to worry, we have to work on. The ones we've covered now, good. Put them in a list. Those are things you enjoy. You should keep doing. You don't have to think about. Yeah. What we'll do after the break is the ones that we have to think about and what to do with them and how to continue with those activities that we have been doing or that we have considered doing. Yeah. I would say we take a 10-minute break. Yeah. Um, yeah, we'll take a 10-minute break. We said the ones we had now are the good ones, the ones we want to keep, and now the ones in the last hour, the ones where we have to work on. And the next level, I'll share my screen again. Um, and the next one wait a sec. And the next one we'll be looking at is the identified regulation. Okay, we had intrinsic regulation, then we had integrated regulation, and now we have identified regulation. What is that? That means we recognize the personal significance of the activity. Yeah. We see it as meaningful and aligned with our goals. Um, we think that we are the origin of the activity. That means we have an I-block, an internal perceived locus of causality. We still think, okay, I'm doing this because I want to do it. Um, Higher volition and persistence. Yeah, we keep doing it. We keep doing it. Yeah. Um, However, it's only identified. It is not yet integrated. Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily imply that we have done a full compatibility check with it. Yeah. And we don't have yet examined the relation of that action to other aspects of our identity. That is called identified regulation. In this case, what we want to do is we now think about the question here now is we're going again through the list, looking at the list. And when you think about learning and speaking German, which activities feel rather easy because you find them valuable and understand the personal significance of the outcome? Yeah. Um, they're not fully integrated, like such as like I just do it. It's not my second nature. Yeah, but it's something I understand that it is important to do this. Yeah, I'm really appreciate the goals. Yeah, for example, it could be again like going to German class. I'm not really enjoying it. I wouldn't really be doing it. Yeah. Also, it's not going to German classes is not really who I am. However, I appreciate the goals. It is something that I do because of the outcome. Yeah. I really value the outcome and it's totally fine. Like it's something that comes rather easy to me. Yeah. I find it valuable and it's the outcome is significant to me. That is an identified, yeah. And the question then would be, again, we look at these, yeah. Those are the ones that I find important for me, yeah. And the question is then, how could we and now we do a self-compatibility check and discuss with our partners, pick the ones that you think, okay, I'm really identified with them, that these are important and valuable, even though I don't find them particularly fun and interesting. And what could you do to further integrate them, to elevate them, to kind of like, okay, I'm doing this not only because I find the outcome valuable, I'm actually doing this because I understand this is really, really important and this is really who I am. Yeah. Do you understand what I mean with like the self-compatibility check? to elevate the activity. Which of those activities do you do because you find them important? But you don't find them as like being in full congruence of who you are. Yeah. The question is what we want. Don't forget the goal. The goal is we want to be more autonomous. We want to do activities that we understand they are truly who we are. They are aligned with who we are. So we want to look at things that we really enjoy. And then we look at things we're kind of like on the fence about. And then question, what do I do with the things that I'm on the fence about? And we want to get them to be more autonomous. The whole goal of today's session is identifying things that we should keep doing, that we should keep doing more, and things that we should maybe leave aside, or things we should think about more and then see what we'll do with them. Yeah, that is the idea of this. Let me give you the questions for this in the chat. Okay, up. This is the identify
No.
regulation. Yeah.
What's the difference with the previous question that we did the partner exercise, the one that said, when you think about learning and speaking German, which activities feel rather easy because you find them valuable and understand the personal significance of the outcome? Oh, no, sorry, this is the one we just did
No, no,
now.
no. I know what you mean. I know what you
The
mean.
one
Yeah.
that says, come almost natural to you and take no effort.
It's pretty similar, right?
Okay.
It's pretty similar. Let's maybe not take too much time with this because I think if you find them pretty similar, that's also my feeling. I don't think just now take things where you think, actually, I could think about those activities a little bit more and see if I can get this more aligned with who I am. Okay, take the ones where you kind of like, you're not so sure. Like, okay, it's important, but I don't really like it. It's kind of like, and think about those and kind of, okay, what could I do? Yeah, in order to like actually that they are more important to me. Number one, can I convince myself that they're actually more important or better for me? Or number two, maybe I should leave them aside. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Um, these are the ones we are on the fence about. Okay, this and the next one, it gets even trickier, but you will understand the difference in a second. Okay, I'll send you this, the PDF. Take a couple minutes. Regular session up. Let me up, and I'll see you guys in a couple of minutes. Okay, any comments here? Questions before we get to the unpleasant stuff? Yeah? Any questions, any comments? Igor, you look like you are very focused. What
Yes, yes, I am. Thank you.
what's hap
Uh,
what's happening in your head?
Brand shared me like one nice stuff you can integrate more is like following cooking recipes in German. He once made a cheesecake by following just videos in German about it and went really well. And now I want to do this much more. It sounds really, really cool thing to do.
We'll talk next time when we talk about pleasure and enjoyment. We're trying to have some fun next week. Yeah, something new. We'll try to have a little bit of fun. Um, we're gonna think about stuff like this. What can I do? Activities where I don't focus on German. Yeah, I focus on enjoying something, and German happens on the side. Yeah, that is basically stuff we want. And now we want to focus on the things we should not be doing, that maybe we are doing and should stop doing them. Okay, everything till now was like the positive stuff, the stuff we can do, we should keep doing, we can keep doing. Maybe we can think about more and like, okay, maybe like this, I should do this more often. This is really cool. And now we get to the stuff, we get to the toxic stuff, the toxic activities. What are those? And this is, I think, as a psychologist, this is the stuff I find the most interesting now, which after almost 2 hours, we get actually to the interesting stuff. Let's see what this is about. Okay, let me share my screen. We're gonna talk now about something that is called the introjected regulation. And let me get this here. So, an introject is a term that comes from psychoanalysis. It's basically something that I have in me that is not really me. It's an internalized perspective from the outside. We all have them. It's basically things where we have this voice in our head, you should, you must. You don't really want to do it, but there's a voice inside of you telling you that you have to do this. That is an introject. Yeah. And some people are much more prone to having them than others, but we all have them. Yeah. There's things we need to do. Like we feel we should, we must, but we don't really want to do them. Yeah. We get into them. This is for us, a toxic regulation. Because they're not really helpful. We'll see in a second. Yeah. So we do things, yeah, but it's not fully integrated. It's not very deeply internalized. It is internalized in a way, but it is not part of who we are, and we don't identify with it. There's like inner conflicts. And very often this is about self-esteem. Yeah. This is regulation by fear of criticism, by guilt, shame, the need to prove ourselves, we approval seeking. It's these kinds of behaviors, yeah, this kind of regulation, yeah, and the motivation to do things doesn't come from like the enjoyment or because we really like understand the value of it. It's more like to demonstrate ability and to maintain self-worth. I'm doing this because I want to show other people that I'm good enough. I'm doing this because I want to prove to myself that I can do this. Yeah, it's this kind of thinking that is introjected regulation. Yeah, the problem with this regulation is it feels like it's coming from inside of me, but it's actually not really me. Yeah. And at the very beginning, this quote is like there's different voices struggling within my soul. This is basically referring to this. There's something from the outside. We think we should be doing this, but actually we don't really want this. It's not really us. We have an inner conflict, yeah, an inner mutiny, so to speak. And this regulation is considered non-self-determined, yeah, because it is influenced by not fully internalized external expectations. Something was planted inside of us. And very often I see students, very often I hear people say, oh, no, but I should be doing this. And every time a student tells me I should be doing this, I just like, dee, dee, dee. I get like a alarm bulb gets off. Yeah, I'm like, okay, now we're dealing with an introject. Yeah, and a lot of people come to German classes or to like the German learning process with those introjects, which very often they come from like your school when you were kids. Teachers would tell you things and you were young, they were implanted, yeah, until now you believe those things, yeah, and those very often are the ones we are going against. People have like all these crazy beliefs. For example, I don't know, my German has to be perfect. Yeah. Or like all kinds of like beliefs where you kind of like, but does it? Like it makes me feel unwell. Yeah. It is regulated by fear of criticism, guilt, shame, again, the need to prove yourself. Yeah. And now it's time to get two more terms in here. This kind of regulation, the introject, this is a term from self-determination theory. They are enacting those introjects, actually like doing this, going against, living through these inner battles. They are vitality draining and ego depleting. Okay, those are two very crucial terms in self-determination theory. Number one, vitality draining. It means that you experience a loss of energy. When you're doing something like this, like you feel like your life energy goes down. And I think many of you have described this. For example, I get there in a second, but like the moment I sit down to learn German, I get really tired. That is you experiencing vitality draining. Yeah, that is you are enacting an introject, and this reduces your vitality. And the next one is ego depletion. Okay, that's a very interesting term. It basically means that enacting an introject, every time it takes energy. And every time you're doing this, you have less and less of this energy of like going against what you don't really want. And for example, when you keep doing this over months and months of months, doing things that you think you should be doing, this will of being able to go against yourself gets weaker and weaker and weaker. Yeah. And your ego is being depleted. It means like you can't keep doing this. Every time you're losing power. Your ego is losing power over yourself. Yeah. That is what they call ego depletion. Yeah. And this ego depletion leads to vitality draining. Yeah. And that is what I think a lot of German learners experience. Yeah. They experience ego depletion. It's like, I just can't keep doing this anymore. This is really tiring. It's really frustrating. Yeah. I can't keep going against myself. And then they stop doing it. Yeah. Because they just feel like life is not worth doing this when I keep doing like this. Yeah. That is so. But it's an inner battle. I'm supposed to do this. I should be doing this. Yeah. That's the reason why a lot of people just like keep doing grammar sheets and keep learning about grammar. Yeah, because I should be doing this. I should have perfect grammar. Yeah, it is absolutely necessary to do this. Well, where does this come from? This is an idea that has been implanted in your head, probably in school. This is not your idea. Yeah. And you feel that it's something it's not really true. And I have to learn this and learn this and learn this. But you kind of like it's painful to do it. And we get there in a second. And this is the kind of stuff. And if there's one thing, hang on, let me stop this for a second here. If there's one thing I would like you to take away from today, yeah, it's stop enacting introjects in the learning process. That's what is like what pushes what's draining your energy, what's draining the enjoyment is like enacting things I should, I must. Yeah. And I want you now to like think about a little bit, what does that mean in your case? And very often those introjects, they cannot really be elevated. My personal recommendation would be just get rid of them. Yeah. Whenever you do something, in this case, in learning German, because you think you should be doing this, and you sit down and the energy goes, don't touch this activity ever again. Yeah. Find something else. Yeah. There's fun to be had. There's only one life to be lived. Yeah. Don't spend it fighting introjects. I want to say it's going to kill you. It's not going to kill you, but it's going to kill the joy. Yeah. And it's going to kill your long-term success. Yeah. So whenever you feel like, okay, I'm doing this for that reason, I'm doing this like to prove myself. I'm doing this because I don't want to get criticized. Stop doing it. Don't do it. What is that? Let me hang on a second. Let's go to the questions. Okay, partner exercise again with a partner. So when you think about learning and speaking German, which activities do you carry out because you feel internally compelled or obligated to do them? I must, I should. Yeah. Identify those activities you perform due to inner pressure, bad conscience. Oh, I really need to do this. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Bad conscience, guilt, shame, fear of disapproval. Or also like I'm doing this to avoid negative feelings or to protect my self-image. I want to show everyone what a great German speaker I am. Yeah. Whenever that is your true, when you're doing this, red flag. Okay. Um, is it possible to elevate these activities? Probably not. Yeah. So I guess they have to need to walk the plank. Do you know what the expression to walk the plank? This is this when you have the mutiny and you're kicking them off the boat. They have to walk the plank. They have to get off the boat. They have to be, what's the word? Terminated. Yeah. So yeah, what are those? And take some time here and just really go through your experience. Um, is this something you have experienced? In which contexts? And is it possible to get rid of them? Yeah. If this is something, I truly believe that when we learn a language, and we talk much more about this next week, I think you have to find the way that is enjoyable. And you absolutely have to get rid of the things where you're on the fence. Those are the ones draining your motivation. Those are the ones taking the fun out of it. And those are the ones taking all your energy and where things become tough. Yeah. And those are the ones we want to identify now. And those are the ones we then potentially want to get rid of. There is a fun way of learning everything. And that is the way you should be looking for, not the fighting ones. Okay, let me put this in the chat. Introjected regulation. I hope you find this as interesting as I do, because this is the part where I think this is really, really fascinating and really important. For some people, maybe more interesting and more important than for others. But this is, I think, something that most of us deal with. Yeah. Okay, I give you guys again. Here's the PDF. And then I'll put you again for a couple of minutes in a group. Let me understand. And I'll see you guys in a couple of minutes. And then we probably have some questions about this, and we're going to talk about this. We are doing great with time. We're perfect with the time. See you guys in a couple of minutes. Okay. Okay. While everyone was in breakout rooms, you didn't have any problems, right? Everything went well. Because my computer just crashed. I just went in the middle of the, like, I let you guys go, and like 30 seconds later, my computer's like, just everything shut off. I've understood what the problem is, but I'm glad nobody experienced any issues. Okay, that's good. Okay, I feel like there were a lot of interesting conversations going on about this, and a lot of like, okay, what does it actually mean? Like, I must do something. And the question you should ask yourself, where does this I must do this come from? Yeah. And Constantino was talking about, well, but I made a choice to like learn the language, and there's certain things I just have to do. And I agree, they are necessary to achieve your goals. You made the decision, you have an eye plug. It's like you perceive the causality of it. Yeah. They are identified. You are the important goals for you. That's why you do them. They are not introjects. Yeah. An introject is, for example, when you really think, okay, I have to like learn all the grammar, I have to be perfect, I can't make mistakes. Yeah. This is something your teacher told you back in school. And then when you sit down and study all the grammar because you don't want to make mistakes, yeah, that is enacting an introject. Constantino was saying, well, but you always have to push yourself and you always have to like get out of your comfort zone. And I agree. The question is, do you do it because it is who you are, because you enjoy it, or because you identify with the goals? Those are goods. Like, those are good. Or do you do this because there's something inside of you telling you that you have to do this, but you actually disagree? Yeah, those are two very different things. Yeah, and I agree. It is sometimes when you just agree with the goals of something, it might be more difficult to do it than when you actually enjoy it. Yeah, that is true. It takes more volition. Yeah. However, and this is fine. However, going against something you don't really want, that is not okay, and that is behavior you should stop. Yeah. But I think it's a valuable question to just make that clear. There's a difference, and I'm not saying everything you do should just come easy. Like that's not how it works, unfortunately. Yeah, even if you enjoy the language learning process, there are still parts, there's times it can be more difficult, it can be harder. You have to, yeah. I want the result, not the process, is Geraldina writing. Yes, and that is the problem. Yeah, that very uh, that very attitude, I think, is at the heart of a lot of people's problems. Eyes on the prize and not enjoying the process. Yeah, you just look for the consequences and you're not enjoying the process. That is something we'll talk a lot about next week. And I think that is the problem. I think that a lot of people coming into, yeah, I'm kind of like, okay, I just want this skill. I want to be able to speak German. Yeah. And and that I think causes a lot of problems. And we were saying if you care so much about it, in the end, it will actually hinder you from achieving it. Yeah. So maybe focus less on the result because we all have the dream of speaking 17 languages perfectly. Yeah, it's a great. I'll be happy one day when I speak those 17 languages fluently. That is the day I'll be happy. And the time in between, which is the rest of my life, will be misery. But once I get there, everything's going to be great. And I think that thinking is coming around and biting you in the ass. You have to enjoy the process. You have to find ways to enjoy the process. By the way, this is not only true for learning German, that's true for everything in life. Yeah, if you just find the way that is enjoyable to do it, hack yourself. We're going to be talking about this in the next couple of weeks a little bit more, how to enjoy the process. Yeah, this is really, really crucial. Okay, I feel like this is the introjection. This is something that kept you guys going. Any other comments, questions about this? We have a couple of minutes more. Yeah, Igor.
Like while thinking about it, we also got like very good ideas. For example, not about this external expectation. So like the teacher told you to do something and you used to do it this way. Like why should you actually like trust this? Why should you believe that this is actually a valid approach? That this is the only way how to the things should be done? Like why should you uh like trust this external like motivators or like these ideals, even if you're totally like internally against them? So this is quite weird. It's we how to do
The
how this
problem is, I think a lot of teachers, I mean, just think what kind of people teachers are. Most teachers were like nerds back in school. You know, I don't, please don't, no nerd bashing here, but a lot of teachers, and I'm one of those people, when I was later in life, I really enjoyed grammar. I got like a weird kick out of it when I was learning Spanish. I loved it. I loved Spanish grammar. Yeah. And a lot of teachers like really like grammar and the structure it gives and blah. And they think they passing on the passion. Yeah. That is not what they do for most people. For some people it works. Yeah. But for other people, they're just passing on interjects. They're just forcing, oh, I really enjoy this. This really worked for me. And then and that because it worked for me, it works also for you. Therefore, you must do this. It is good for you. And then you're like, no, this is not my way. And it's important to realize that you are at this point, if there's something inside of you going against this, you are enacting introjects. And they were implanted without your consent. Yeah. And very often they are not questioned. Yeah. They're just there. They just happen to be there. And you hear them. You should. You must. And I think one good way, like just whenever you have the feeling of like, oh, I should be doing this, and you kind of like, and you sit down and you want to do it, stop doing it immediately. Yeah. It's the kind of behavior you do not want to enact. Yeah. Protect
yes
yourself. Yeah.
yes I agree. I also think that it's like at some point you realize that you can actually like trust yourself much more than take responsibility of the outcome on you and actually make decisions of how the stuff should be done like on your own without relying on some kind of external confirmation or like a teacher's opinion about how it should be done because okay like maybe it's not the way how this teacher thinks it should be done but you think differently uh, and you have the full freedom and responsibility on this way. Like, it doesn't mean that you have to comply to this
Yeah.
external motivators. That's
Yeah, you have
also,
to like just
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like you stop thinking about your motivation as one thing. Yeah. Think about different aspects, different regulations. Where does this come from? Where does this come from? Yeah. And don't look at it as a global motivation. Look at certain parts. And you see, if you get rid of certain parts of your regulation, the motivation will rise. Yeah. The whole thing will be more fun. I don't know. It's, I wish I could like stand here and tell you, what, it's really easy. In order to like be motivated, you have to do this and this and that. Yeah. But unfortunately, it's not that easy. It is different for everyone. Yeah. That's why this topic is kind of unsexy. It's really important, but it's really not sexy because it's not easy. I don't think there's any easy answers here. Yeah. But the one is really like observing yourself. How do I feel about doing something? And if there's one thing, again, as I said, you want to take away, when you feel like there's a battle going inside of me, don't touch it. Yeah, get rid of it. Find something else. Yeah, or like question it. Okay, what is actually happening there? You can do a self-compatibility check and think, okay, what is happening there? Why? Next week we talk about a little bit something I really believe is Klarheit vor Kompetenz. Before you start doing something, don't look only on like the competence that I can do. Is actually, am I clear about why I'm doing this? Yeah, you have to always like think about, why am I doing this? Am I following a program here, or am I following or doing something because I really want this, because I really, this is part of who I am, or I really subscribe to the goals of this, or am I doing this because somebody someday told me this is important? Yeah. There's also like one last thing that I have observed. Now we're coming to the external regulation. And I think because we're all adults and adult learners, there's something I have observed and I want to talk about it. It's about the external regulated behavior. It means that the action is performed because of punishments or rewards. In our youth, very often those were grades. Yeah, we're getting grades, marks in school. Yeah, an A plus. It can mean, oh, yes, Christine. Whenever like self-worth is integrated, then you're usually doing an introject. Yeah. You are, when it's self-worth regulation, it's basically you seeing yourself through other people's eyes. Yeah. Proving yourself, because you don't have to prove yourself. You never, yeah, we're never really proving something to ourselves. We're proving ourselves to other people inside of us. Yeah. People that we have internalized. Yeah. Because as human beings, by ourselves, we don't have to prove anything to nobody. Yeah. But there's people inside of us we want to please. Yeah. And that's what we think I have to prove myself. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, the answer is yes. That's an introductory regulation. But to the external regulation, I think a lot of people have this idea. Like a lot of adult learners, they persist in childhood routines. Yeah, the way I studied in school. Yeah, the way we learned languages back in school. Yeah, you did like grammar sheets and vocab drills and vocab cramming. But the problem is, back in the day, you had an external regulation. You were giving grades. Yeah. Today, you are not giving grades anymore, but you keep doing the activity because you haven't questioned it. Yeah. And before, there was an external regulation, which can be motivating. Grades can be very motivating. Yeah. Once the grades are gone, you stop doing it, but they can be very motivating. And now you're doing an activity that you used to do and you were graded for, but you're not being graded anymore. Yeah. So the whole thing just falls apart. And then you realize that when you do these activities, the grammar sheets, that you find them really frustrating and in a certain way senseless. Yeah. And this is basically called a transitional gap. You have a motivational vacuum. Yeah. And the external regulation has disappeared and it was not really internalized. And this is sometimes it can be like an introject, But it just, I think in the end, it's just like do you remember like the Pavlov dog? Dog of Pavlov? Do you remember this guy? Yeah. That's a little bit the person doing this. Like you're still doing this, but the external regulation is away. But you haven't questioned it. You're still doing it. And that's why you like realize this is kind of senseless. Why am I doing this? Yeah. Operant conditioning. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so without internalization, these vocab drills, they become empty Pavlovian habits. And those are also, and people keep telling me that, oh man, I really hate doing this, but I need to do this. Or the other day, somebody told me, I think I go back and listen to all the listening comprehension from the A1 course book. I was like, that sounds like the worst idea I've ever heard. Why would you? This sounds so boring. Like, why would you do this? There was usually yeah, and I was like, that sounds like a terrible idea. This is, and, I should be doing this. This is important. It's like, who said that? Why do you have this? Why do you believe this is important? Yeah. So really, really question yourselves. Is this really important? Is this really what I should be doing? Yeah. 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 And we're doing this for a lack of ideas, basically. I think this is important. It's in the class. The teacher said it's important, so it must be important. Ergo, I should be doing this. Yeah. So question what you believe, question what people tell you. Yeah. I hope today gave you some ideas about to question your motivation a little bit. Parts of it, yeah. Don't never say again, I lost my motivation. Yeah. Never say, don't stop looking at motivation to be one thing. Yeah. Look at different aspects of it. Determine this is good one. This I want to keep. This I want to keep. This one out. This one out. This one out. And then go through this. I hope this today gave you some ideas how to look at this. And then really focus on the aspects that you enjoy. Yeah. And I hope this will not only change the way you learn German, I hope this will have an impact on your life. I really, this for me was really like eye-opening. Again, I would love to recommend the book, but I can't. It was, however, if you're interested, I'll send it to you if you want to read more about this. You can also find stuff if you highly recommend the Wikipedia article on this, on self-determination theory. This is probably the way easier read. Let dig deeper into this. I think it's if you want to hack your own motivation and understand why you do something, why you don't do something, this is, I think, is a crucial way to get a deeper understanding of why you do things and why sometimes it's really, really difficult. Yeah. Okay. Any last comments? Christina, I hope you're not mad at me for making fun of you. I was not making fun of you. I was just, this example came to mind. I was just like, oof. Yeah. Yeah.
No, not at all. My goodness, it's funny because it's me.
Any comments? I apologize. I think we had a very slow start. I think the beginning was you guys like, where is he going with this? What? Why all these things? I next time I'll do this a little shorter, but I feel like at the last part, I think we got to the crucial part of what is about today. So I'm sorry for the it took me a while to get there, but I think I had to go it this way. So like you really understand how this works. Any questions, any comments? Please feel free to share. Konstantinos, you were very critical. Does it something working?
Yeah, now it's a bit clearer.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And I remember from the conversation that I had with a lot of you in the one-on-ones, I think this is relevant for a lot of people. I feel like that a lot of you are dealing with those introjects and like unquestioned beliefs of like what one should do in order to learn a language. And yeah, I hope this gives you some ideas today. Next week, give me one more minute. Next week, we'll be talking about fun and enjoying and pleasure. That's the next basic psychological need we'll cover. And we'll try to make it fun next time and engaging. And I have a couple of ideas how we'll do this. So next time so we focus on the things that we like, why we should be doing this, what we could do. We have tons of ideas, what could be fun, and like plan a little bit around the activities that today we wrote down of like the cooking, for example, or like somebody mentioned writing a diary, like activities that sound fun. And then like we get into a little bit more into that next week. So yeah, next week on pleasure and enjoyment. And thanks for the patience with me today. I was also having a difficult day. I'm gonna share this now. Wait, let me stop the